Hello and welcome to this video. This video is called 10 Mistakes Emerging Artists Make. Are you an emerging artist? Have you not even emerged? Are you sat there with all these ideas in your head and the want to be creative and get your stuff out there and at least reach somebody out there that would appreciate what you do? Well, I have been an educationalist now for 30 years. I've worked with literally hundreds and hundreds of artists and musicians and bands, and in that time I've sort of evolved a methodology that has helped musicians establish themselves, and that methodology involves making the artists realise the mistakes they're making and stop making those mistakes, right? So what I've done here is I've come up with 10, because we like the number 10 here, don't we? So I've come up with 10 mistakes that musicians make, and these mistakes I've ordered. So if you don't make these mistakes in the order I've put them in, it should channel you through to actually achieving something. Right now, before I start, there is a proviso, and once you've got all your ducks in a row, and once you've got your stuff out there, the success will be based upon how good your stuff is. And of course that's highly subjective, but I will be discussing that as we go on, and hopefully there'll be some tips for you to be able to maximize your stuff so it's good, basically. So let's start straight away. So the first mistake I think musicians make is they try to be too commercial. You have to see it from the audience's side. The audience is getting bombarded by very well written, generically correct, well produced music, all right? And what a lot of artists want to do is they want to conform to that, all right? And so they don't realise that the audience is being bombarded by all this stuff, and it becomes a big wall of blandness. The things that permeate through that are things that are different. If you're an established artist, you're trying to sell millions of records, then your considerations should be commercial and you should be thinking what the market wants. But when you start off, you're going to make an imprint by doing something different. It's difference that will establish you, right? And that difference could be the way it's produced, it could be the way it's written, it could be what it's about, it could be a different view. And we all have in us our own view of the world, right? And that's what makes us unique. And if you learn how to channel that, right, and you put out your view out there, there will be other people out there that will chime with that and go, yeah, that's really good, I really love that. So don't worry about being uncommercial. Do whatever you want to do. If you want to make, sort of noise, ambient madness, 3-hour-long tracks, then do it. Just do what you want to do and don't worry about the commercial considerations at this stage, right? The consideration of commerciality comes in later, right? So that's the first thing. Don't try and be commercial. Follow your heart. Do what you want to do. That's the first thing, right? Number 2, the second mistake I think people make is they don't spend enough time writing the material. Bands will often try and do, or artists will try and do everything. They will try and establish themselves, they'll try and gig, they'll try and record, they'll try and write, they'll try and do it all at the same time. Just nearly knocked my laptop. I'm doing too much arm movements, today. Let's calm it down. Right, so yes, well, I've lost my thread now. So yes, spend time writing stuff. Spend time writing your songs, right? If you think of a band like Led Zeppelin's first album, Led Zeppelin 1, was created, it's like this band come together, all of them have been developing all these ideas and material, it all comes together in one big lump, and it's absolutely magic, and the first album comes out, it's absolutely classic. Led Zeppelin 2 was made whilst they were touring. They're trying to write material, they're trying to gig, and it's all been hobbled together. It's a brilliant album, but at that point the band realised that they need to take the time to write the material, and there's that legendary story of Robert Plant and Jimmy Page going to Braniora in Wales and spending time writing the songs, right? When Zepp did that, I believe that on Led Zepp 3, that's the point where you see Zeppelin suddenly becoming a highly innovative band. They find their own sound, you know, their experiments in sort of electric, you know, blues, right, which can be argued as being quite derivative. They suddenly find a way of doing it, I think, which is their own. And the reason is because they spent that time writing and considering what they're doing. To put it another way, you could see it like this. If you want to be a success, you need to maximize your chances. So to maximize your chances, you're going to have to write a lot of material and then consider that material and then cherry pick from that. So many people write one song, then they go and get that one song recorded and they put that song out there thinking that they're going to go to like #1 in the charts and everyone's going to go, oh my God, it's a new song, it's all brilliant. It's not going to happen. You have to maximize your chances. If you study how real artists do it in the real world, that writing process is cordoned off. So spend some time and plan. Say, we're going to spend 6 months writing songs. We're going to spend 3 months writing songs. Whatever you decide to do, and then sit down and just do that, right? At the end of that process, you should have a number of songs written. The third mistake that artists make is they don't demo those songs, right? Now, these demos are very, very important. Say you've written 20 songs. It's very important that you record all those songs. Now, you're not recording these for public consumption. You're recording these so you can hold these songs in your hand and look at them and consider them. You can also go to other people. You've got to remember, in the real music industry, artists have producers, and producers are like a mirror that can go, yeah, this is really great. I'm not too sure about that. An outside point of view. When I'm working with bands and artists, often, if they've got 20 songs, I want to hear a recording of all the songs so I can help them sift through and find where the really great stuff is. And if they've written 20, they've got a much stronger chance of writing something that's really good, okay? So maximize your chances, write a ton of material, get it demoed. Now, these demos don't have to be perfect, they don't have to sound great. All they have to do is have the information of the song on there. It could be just someone with an acoustic guitar singing those songs down, you know, onto one mic. It could be that you've done it all with, you know, virtual instruments and MIDI and you've got it like that, or the band has just got some couple of mics up in a rehearsal room and just recorded the songs down. It will really enlighten you to be able to have all the songs in front of you and see what you're dealing as a collective whole, and actually be able to see what you're about, because often artists can't see what the thing is that make them great is, and you will get an idea of that by doing that. So that's number 3, is demo all the songs you've written, okay? Number 4, right? Don't try and make an album, right? So many bands and artists are trying to make an album. They're trying to write an album's worth of stuff, right? If you're an established artist, that could be the way to go, but it's not the way to go in the modern music industry, okay? So don't try and make an album. What you're going to do is you're going to work one song at a time. You're going to write a bunch of songs, the writing's done. Once the writing's done, we don't want to be thinking about writing that much. We want to be thinking of production. You've got to try and nail one of these recordings so you can get it out there produced well. Now, if you try and undertake the making of an album, that could cost a lot of money and a lot of time. And in the end, the general public are not going to discover you on an album. They're going to discover you with one track. So once you've got those demos written, identify the really strong songs and then think about which one is the most immediate. And that's very easy to tell, because if you start playing your demos to people, they'll go, oh, I really love that one. And the next person will go, oh, I really love that. And you go, oh, that's weird. That was just a throwaway track, but everyone really likes that one. So grab that, and we're now going to get that produced properly. Now, I can't argue strong enough for recording studios. If you're just producing one song and you go to a local recording studio, they will help you make that song. And because you're only doing one, it could be all done in one day. It could be recorded, mixed, mastered in one day. You could spend one day in a studio and walk out with a finished product made by professionals, right? If you record at home, you're just working on one track now, so you can just work on that one track and make sure you get it right, test it, and really concentrate on it. So don't try to bite off more than you can chew. Pick one track, get it finished, get it produced, get it sounding good, right? Number 5, okay? Once you're in a cycle of doing that, stagger your releases, right? This is really, really important to an artist trying to establish themselves. You need to create momentum, all right? If you can just get 3 people to like your first track, that is 3 more than you had before, right? So if you get a track, like I said, and you're going to release that track now, you've got your first track produced and written, and then on all your social media networks and on all this type of stuff, you are going to start saying, I've got a new record coming out, right? Here's a snippet of it. Here's a bit of the video. Here's me talking about it. And you build up to the release. You tell people it's coming. You don't just blurt it out there. You tell people it's coming with a release date. If you do have contacts with magazines, you know, or websites, they will want a release date, and they will want to be able to say, oh, this single's come out today and we've done a review of it. It's really important that you have a release date for that track, right? Here in the UK, we have an incredible thing called BBC Introducing, which where emerging artists can upload their stuff onto the BBC website, and then it gets listened to by radio stations, and they will play. And I've worked with BBC Introducing very closely, and they do listen and they will play. And if you go to that website, you're only allowed to upload a certain amount of tracks. You have to wait, and that is because it's the correct way of doing it. Once you've released the first release, you can then go to your pot of songs you've written, and you can then go to the next one, and you can spend a couple of months getting that produced, and that becomes your second release. And the people who liked your first release, they're listening, oh, I really like that one, it's quite good, I quite like this artist. They will, I'll check this next one out. And you will start to grow like this. By staggering releases, you will grow your audience going round and round. The whole thing about success in this business, not just music, but media, YouTube, is just continually going around the circle of creativity and putting regular stuff out and keeping the momentum going and slowly starting to build that audience. Okay, once you've released, say, 5, 6, 7, 8 songs, and you've got an audience, you might have a little bit of an audience there, then it's very easy to put all those well-produced tracks together and release an album. And then you can release an album, and you might even sell some copies if you do physical copies, because people will have bought into 5 or 6 tracks and go, oh, I really like this, I might get the album. Trying to release an album first off, nobody will be interested, right? Number 6. This is a mistake people make. They do not consider the visual aspects, right? By that I mean photographs of themselves, photographs of the artist, artwork for the releases, and video. That's really, really important. You have got to get those things solved. Now, if people watch this video and they're into what I'm saying here and it's helped them, if you put in the comments, I will do another video on how to nail those things. If you're a musician, you've probably got great skills as a musician, but you may not have art skills. And in some case, it might mean you've got to find a friend or a professional that can take good photos of you, can create good artwork, and can film good video. The reason why this is important, because that is the first thing that anyone will perceive. This is the way the internet works. We really take it in through our eyes, not our ears. You know, nobody wants to listen to any music, right? They're not interested in that. You know, it's like when you're scrolling through Instagram and you press the sound on, and then all this stuff's blurting after. You've got to switch it all off. People aren't interested in that. They're looking. That looks like an interesting artist. Oh, that artwork's good. I really like that. Wonder what that sounds like. And when they go and check you out, people will often check out the video, not listen to the audio. So those three things have to be nailed. I need to talk about those in more detail, but that is a mistake that people make, and I will move on. Right, number 7 is create a video. I know I mentioned it in the last one, but for you to get a track out there, that track needs a video, right? Now, it could need 3 videos. You could have a live performance video, you could have a proper pop video or whatever, where there's some acting going on, and you could have a lyric video. If people like your track, they will listen to all three, or they'll watch all three. So if you're managing to get, say, 200, 300 views on a YouTube video, if you put it out 3 times in 3 different ways, that maximizes you up to 600 views, right? So it's very important that you have a strategy of creating a video, right? And that can be expensive and difficult, and I may need to come and discuss this later on. Right, number 8. The 8th mistake people make is they try and gig in their local area, right? Once you've got your songs and you've got your bands and you want to go out and gig, you'll find some venue somewhere and you'll put the gig on, you'll tell all your friends, they'll all come down and they'll all say it's wonderful and it's all brilliant, right? Once you've done that, you can't do it again. You can book another gig in 3 or 4 weeks there in another local venue, and you'll tell all your mates that only half of them will go, and the 3rd time you go, nobody's turning up. Right? What you've got to want to do is you want to do 1 date in your area, okay? And then you need to consider trying to find some venues that are scattered about within the costs of what you can do. But say if you could find, say, 10 venues in different areas, okay? If you've got to this point where you've released all your tracks, you've staggered them, you've now got an album out, you are then going on tour, and you can market all those dates in a row. You can say, here's the 10 dates, here's our tour, and that will be perceived as, by the audience, well, this is a proper band, a proper artist, and they're going out on tour, and here's all the tour dates. Oh, that one's closest to me, I might go to that. Right, now when you first did that, you're going to be playing to hardly anybody. But if you pick up 1 person on each of those gigs, you've got now 10 extra people, right? If you go off and do a good job and the venue owner's happy, maybe you didn't make that much money, but it was pretty good. Next year, when you go around this process again, you're going to be able to book those venues again and maybe expand on the limits of where you're touring, okay? And that will gradually grow into something bigger and bigger. As you can see, the overriding thing about this discussion is to keep the momentum going at all times, right? We're nearly there now. Number 9. Right, this is the most important one. Have a plan and stick to it. I have described a plan here. Write that out. Well, we're going to write stuff. We're going to pick the best stuff. We're going to record them one by one. We're going to stagger the releases and market those. Right, when we've got enough, we're then going to release an album. We are going to go on a tour of some local venues, but we're going to spread that out so we're not playing the same place. We're not going to try and rely on our friends be there. We're only going to do that once, right? And then that's going to establish you, right? Now, we come to number 10, the final one, okay? The final one is to keep going and do this over and over again. If you did the plan I said and you go around at the end of that, when you finish that tour and you finish those dates, you'll be hungry to do more gigs. You'll have loved it and you want to go to gigs, but you've got to be sensible and you go, right, that's the tour over, that's done. Then you go back and you start it again. You go into the writing process, record, write those songs, demo them, pick the best ones. If you go around that circle, the momentum you've created on the first thing, which is here, it's tiny on that first go, that's here. When you go again, it will expand like that, and you go again and it expands like that. As you go around a second time, people that are discovering this next set of music, and hopefully you will have developed, you will get better. If you keep going, you will learn by osmosis and you will get better. Now that's the key. I said I was going to come to this. That's the key to making good music, is to write lots and lots of stuff, get it out there and keep going. Your first stuff will be good, but to find that magic thing, you've got to go round the circle of creativity over and over again. And when people discover, say, the second batch of stuff, and they like it, they go back and go look at the first batch of stuff, and suddenly when you're out on tour, people are now buying 2 lots of albums as opposed to 1. Right, you can't go wrong. If you're 5 albums in, you might suddenly find that you've got 1,000 people out there that are into what you do. You are now established as an artist, and believe me, in this modern age of digital distribution, you can establish yourself and survive on 1,000 people. 3,000 or 4,000 people, you may be able to even start to earn a living out of it, right? So that is the plan I use with my students. And you can see lots of things that fight against them doing that. And what it is that people approach trying to become a successful artist in what I call a superstitious way. If you've heard of the idea of the cargo cults, where in the war, the American Air Force landed on certain islands that had been really isolated, and there were tribal people on that island, and they'd never seen an aeroplane before. The Air Force people landed, and they handed out chocolate bars and showed them their watches and their radios, and the tribe, oh my God, this is really amazing. And then they left. And so what the tribal people did was they then built sort of models of the airplane and models runways, and they would have these rituals where they would enact the plane landing in the hope that that would sort of, by some sort of superstitious means, bring the Air Force people back. And I find that is the approach most people have to trying to establish themselves as an artist. They pretend that they are established. They get a band name, and they create a website, and they do a gig, and they write a track, and they think by doing the things that they think bands and artists do, it'll somehow magic their way for it to happen to them. But you are not an established artist. You have to establish yourself. Establishing yourself is different to being established. And hopefully the logic of what I've described in this video makes sense to you. So that's it. That is my 10 mistakes that emerging artists make. This video is a bit of a risk for me. I normally talk about jazz and prog and do top 10 videos. There's a few things on here on this channel for artists who want to sort of know what to do and know how to battle, say, against the psychological pressures of trying to establish yourself, because it can be quite soul destroying. And if people are interested in that, then you can check that out. There's actually a video here which is an hour long where I talk about anxiety and depression and how that is linked to creativity, and that could be very useful for you. If you like this, please like and subscribe. If you want more videos like this, put it in the comments. If a lot of people watch this, I will do more. I'm sort of testing the water with this video. I think this is really important stuff. If anyone follows what I've just done, you should, after a year, be established as an artist. And I've seen it so many times. Once the band's got a name and they got 3 or 4 tracks out, and they've had a track on the radio and they've done a couple of gigs, suddenly in their community people start talking about them like they're an artist. People can name the artist. They go, oh, do you know so and so's got a new single coming out? Oh, they're doing a gig at so and so, and suddenly you're established. You cannot run before you can walk. Right? The music industry isn't like Cinderella. There's no fairy godmother going to come down and wave their magic wands and you're suddenly going to make it. I know that's the story that's pushed by, American Idol and Britain's Got Talent, or America's Got Talent, whatever they are, but it actually doesn't work like that. Most people you see on there have spent a lot of time getting to that point, and they cover up that fact. That's another video as well. There's so much stuff. This is just me dipping my toe into this area. So if you liked it, like I said, like, subscribe. If you want to ring the notification bell and hear about the next video, if I do another one like this. And if you want to become a patron and support me, and that means you will get access to me and I will help you. If you're one of my patrons and you want advice, I will do stuff on Patreon to help you. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I really spoke fast then, didn't I? I really went fast. I've tried to cram as much information in because I guess that if you've clicked on this, you want to know. You want to know. So I've spoken really fast, so I apologise for that. It's like I'm a bit, and I nearly broke my laptop, didn't I, waving my arms around. So I've moved my studio around a bit. I've got a bit more space now, you see, and I didn't think about, these sort of health and safety aspects of it. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.